What ho, chaps? How the devil? Hang on, that's a bit far off. How's that? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is the 17th of June, 2022. This year in Clown World. Who's in? Sid Cannon, Kate Two-Tone, Kirky Bally, Jeff Wedden. That's about it. Oh no, Harold Stewart, Vivian Needle, Matt McCoy, Necromancer. That's about not too many today. Kaiser's Mam's in on Twitch. Baron Flight, Davey Parker, Matty Nung Wangbo, Scouse Obi, Stevie C, Martin Ward, Mr. Myrtle, Terry Wuckfit, anybody else? How are you doing? Right. I was quite impressed with this today. The BBC appears to have put a modicum of effort in reporting a story relatively accurately. There's a few little takeaways to take from this. I'm assuming that whoever wrote this is an outlier in that detestable organisation. And as soon as it gets read 14 hours ago, as soon as the editor sees that, he'll be out on his fucking ear, won't he? Who was it? Does it say? No, we can't find out. We can't find out which hero in the shadows is currently working to report news accurately at the BBC. So let's toast the unnamed hero of the British Broadcasting Corporation with water. So that's all he deserves. Water. In a rare interview, Biden says Americans really, really down. So kudos for pointing out that it's a rare interview, first of all, because interviews with Joe Biden are rare. They are as rare as rocking horse shite on account of the fact that his handlers, every time he opens his mouth, he puts his foot in it. So his handlers must be like, listen, mate, just don't talk to anyone. You perform best, Joe, when you say nothing at all. Isn't that a Ronan Keating song? You perform best when you say nothing at all. That should be the mantra. We should get that on a t-shirt. Biden performs best when he does nothing and says nothing. Yeah, you say it best when you say absolutely fuck all. For some reason, it's tickled me that. I don't know. That song popped into my head when I was reading that headline. In a rare interview, President Biden has said Americans are really, really down as they grapple with soaring inflation after 2 years of pandemic. No shit. He told the Associated Press the need for mental health in America has skyrocketed. Not really a very sensible sentence, even that, is it? The need for mental health. You mean mental health facilities or mental health advice? It's not just the need for mental health. Well, what does that mean? He said he wanted Americans to be confident because I am confident. Who's confident when there is age? Everything he says is a lie, isn't it? He cannot lie straight in bed. Every sentence. What's that? Any thoughts on Vince McMahon and his $3 million hush money? I have seen tweets about it, but I haven't done enough research to elucidate further on that blue van man. Shall I do it now? And then we'll get back to this story. Let's have a look. Here we are. Wall Street Journal. I'll put it up. We may as well read it together like story time. Secret 3 million hush pact. Consensual. The board of WWE is investigating a secret $3 million settlement that longtime chief executive Vince McMahon has agreed to pay a departing employee with whom he allegedly had an affair. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not that interested in this stuff. You know why? Because it seems like almost everybody involved in the public eye in the United States of America is a sweaty sex pest. But this isn't news to me. This is like, if you were to tell, or what do you think about, another Hollywood producer being donkeying one into anything with a pulse? Not really news, is it? They're all sex pests out here. I think it must be because of all that like sunny weather. You know what my hypothesis is about, why people talk about Latin lovers and sexy Italians. I seen a funny meme about it once, and it was, how will the detective investigating your murder react? And it was like a map of Europe, and it said, sad and wet, and it was in like Scotland and England, and then it was like sad and drunk, and it was in Ireland, and then it was like Spain, France, and Italy. It was sad and sexy. And we have that theory that basically, or I certainly do, it's all that exposure to the sun, right? So nobody ever talks about their smooth talking, fiery Scottish lover or their sexy, sensual Norwegian girlfriend. It's always like Italians, Spaniards, and it's people that are lower, closer to the equator where they get nice weather. They put shite in the water. Maybe that's it. Well, that's what Jockey Wilson used to say. Remember Jockey Wilson, the Scottish darts player? He famously never ever drank the tap water because his mum told him, his granny told him that the English poisoned the water. So, yeah, to me, it must be all that sunshine they get out here, because how many fucking sex pests are involved in all this stuff out here? It's not even a story anymore, is it? Everyone's a sex pest. And then the thing, people like us are weird. Like, they find out that you only have sex 3 times a month because, you do more useful things with your time, like read the newspapers or go for a jog. They think you're the weird one. They think you should be out harassing young women when you're a 45-year-old fucking man. Basically, especially, I mean, look at the Italians. Like, they fancy a bird. If you're an Englishman and you fancy a bird, you walk past in the street, maybe you'll smile and say hello. That'll be the sum total of your advances that day. The Italians, it's like, hey, ciao bello. It's like, get 25 of your mates, put a fucking tub of Brill cream on your head, slap her ass and go, yeah, and then follow her around on fucking scooters for 4 hours, beeping your fucking horns. Like, there's just something different about us. It's a cultural, yeah, it could be a song. Everyone's a sex pest. It's out here, everyone's a sex pest. If you've got loads of money, and let's be honest as well, there's numerous factors that could be causing it. Another good one is money, isn't it? Because this is something that I've said many times. You can't really blame people like Trump. And I know Kate and all the women in the chat, Nick Yak, I'm aware this is going to sound a little bit misogynistic, but it shouldn't. Because again, I'm not a collectivist. I'm not collectivizing all women. I'm pointing out that because so many women are of easy virtue, you almost can't blame people like Vince McMahon and Donald Trump and Harvey Weinstein. And you can just reel them off all day. Andrew Cuomo, all of them. Anyone rich and powerful in America turns into a sex pest because cash is king. And as a result of that, you have to concede that some of the blame is lies with these women of easy virtues. Again, it doesn't happen to people like my missus, who've actually got some moral fucking intestinal fortitude and some morals about them. But basically, if you're extremely, extremely rich and powerful in America, everywhere you go, women throw themselves at you. So you almost understand why, if you're not that bright, Cuomo is a great example of that. You just get used to not even having to try or maintain any sense of decorum. It's understandable because everywhere they go, women fling themselves at them. So it's not entirely the fault of the sexual deviants either, is it? It's also our fucked up culture that teaches these young women that as long as a bloke's got money, you should try and smoke his pole. It takes two to tango, so it's complicated, isn't it? It's a mixture of all of these things. It's the nice hot weather. It's the morally vacuous culture that we live in. It's the pressure on women to just go for blokes who've got loads of money. It's numerous things, isn't it? But yeah, other than that, Blue Van Man, I haven't got too much to say about it because fucking hell, rich and powerful men are sex pests. Not really news anymore, is it? I've got pretty privilege. What does that mean? I mean, one thing I will point out is that, see, I'm not really though. I'm not particularly good looking, and I'm only 5'9". I did read a piece in the Economist that said because we're just evolved apes, you would be surprised how much of your looks it's purely about genetics, whether or not you get treated well. I mean, it's a known fact that good-looking, tall people, especially men. I read something weird like 9 out of 10 CEOs are all over like 5'10" or something. Like there's a lot of things at play, isn't there, when you're just an evolved chimp with clothes on. But yeah, I mean, good-looking people get treated better, don't they? They do better in court. I think this is why there's so many fucked up women, though, older women, because if you're a really, really, really good-looking woman when you're 20, you just get used to people doing anything for you, just throwing themselves at you and just doing out for you. They get everything, even in shops and stuff. Do you know what I mean? The amount of, there's myriad tales of it, like really good-looking bird in a shop, and she's like, "Can I have that, that, and that?" "Oh, I forgot my purse." And the silly bloke who's on the counter is just like, "I'll just take it. It's fine. I'll pay for that." And then suddenly they get a bit older and a bit craggy face, and then they're not getting everything for now anymore, and they go, "Oh, this is what oppression feels like." It's like, no, you've just been fucking fawned over your whole life. So yeah, I'm not really that interested in talking about this type of thing. So sorry, Blue Van Man, we'll have to go back to the other news story. But that's what I think of that. It's as normal as breathing, isn't it? $1 million CEO fucking slapping the birds' asses. That's just what they do. Oh yeah, that reminds me. When we were out, me and my missus were out walking yesterday. We were walking through the park near our house. There's a really nice park near our place. We were walking around it, and I was holding her hand. Somewhat embarrassing to admit that if you're a northern man. I was holding my missus' hand. Well, we are married. I'm allowed to do that. And as we were walking through the park, this craggy-faced, fucking clearly a meth head or a smackhead. As we were walking past her in the park, she went, "Oh, I'm a bit jealous. I wish there was a man holding my hand." And I just went like, like laughed at her and just kept on walking. And my missus was like, "Fuck me." I said to her, "Yeah, if you're jealous, a bit of self-help might be warranted here. Number one, stop doing skag." Right? If you're jealous, stop doing skag. There you go. Stop doing skag. Get some moisturizer and have a fucking shower. I mean, it's the basics, right? It's the basics. I don't think I'm a staggeringly good-looking man. You just have to do the basics. You know what I mean? Wash every day. Brush your fucking teeth. That's it. Don't do heroin. I mean, she could get fixed up if she stayed off the skag. It's not difficult, is it? There's someone for everybody. And women slightly outnumber men, don't they? So I understand how it's a little bit harder for blokes when blokes say, like, "Oh, I can't get my end away." It's a little bit harder for blokes, but there's more birds than blokes, so you've got the numeric advantage. Brush your minge. That's never been high up on my list of priorities. I've never been sat in a bar and a woman's come up to me and said, "Hello, do you want to have a drink and have one? Do you brush your minge? do you take time to plait your fucking piss flaps? If not, I'm not interested, love." So yeah, it's a bit weird, that, isn't it? On to the news. We're not here for dating advice. So Joe Biden lies through his fucking teeth and said he's confident. Confident. He's just been doing self-harm for months. Collapsing the pipeline when we needed oil. Collapsing the border when we need order. Defunding the police when we need police. I mean, everything he's done is self-harm. So don't tell me that you're confident when you've been fucking everything up on purpose. It said his popularity has plunged as November elections loom that will decide which party controls Congress. People are really, really down, Mr. Biden told the news agency. Yeah, they're really down. Their need for mental health in America. Their need for mental health in America has skyrocketed because people have seen everything upset. Are they quoting him here? It doesn't fucking read right at all. Everything they counted on, upset. But most of it's a consequence of what the fuck? I mean, see what I was saying about the reporter doing a good job here? Like, they've actually transcribed him accurately. Because what a lot of the mainstream media in the United States do, especially CNN, they make him sound better than he does when you're reading it. Because obviously still a lot of voters, especially the older people, they're not watching it on YouTube and Twitter all the time. They're reading it in newspapers, so they don't accurately transcribe what he's saying. They clean it up for him. Like if this was on CNN, it'd say something like, the American people are extremely distressed. Their need for mental health services has skyrocketed because people have seen how catastrophically the last administration behaved. That's what they write. Whoever's wrote this has actually transcribed him accurately, and that's why it's fucking gobbledygook. It's just a word soup. They're really down. Their need for mental health in America has skyrocketed because people have seen everything upset. Everything they counted on upset, but most of it's a consequence of what's happening. What happened is a consequence of the COVID. Fucking got word salad, isn't it? It's like Diane Abbott took over as his press secretary. Fucking brilliant, that, isn't it? Of what's happening, the COVID crisis. I mean, and even that's a cell phone, isn't it? Because if that's his explanation, well, he was the one who was saying 18 months ago on the campaign trail, on the rarer times he actually did some fucking work, he was the one banging the drum saying, I'll handle this. The Trump virus. Remember when they were calling it the Trump virus? Like he knocked it up in a cauldron in Trump Tower. Like a witch. It was the Chinese. It looks like you can't talk about it because Susan's taking money off fucking Beijing and all, isn't she? The raddled spunk Bowser that she is. It appears all the evidence seems to point that it was indeed from a fucking lab that Donald, the Orange God, said 2 bastard years ago. So he was right, wasn't he? But when they were on the campaign trail, Bungalow Biden said, oh, yeah, it's the Trump virus. And all them people have died all because of Trump. Like, we had casualties in every single country, from Azerbaijan to Zimbabwe. And yet, they had the neck, people like Pelosi, that disgusting, decrepit, fucking mum-ra the ever-living with nice hair. That's what they were saying. Oh, it's the Trump virus. I mean, it's a bit special even saying that, isn't it? It's rank politicking of the worst kind. The Trump virus. So he had nothing to do with it. It came from a foreign country, and then it killed people in every single nation on planet Earth. But it's the Trump virus. Why? And even if there was a slightly elevated casualty statistics, let's say in America compared with like Denmark, there's numerous things that could explain it. It's not just, oh, well, if the president had been more sensible, less people would have died. How much power do you think he's got? It's like, think of it logically. How much can a president do? When it's something like a virus which attacks your very body, how much can the president do? The casualty statistics could be lower in Denmark compared to Florida because they're healthier. They go walking a lot more. I mean, America's pretty much one of the fattest countries on earth. I lived in the South. Fuck me. You cannot get people to go for a walk in Alabama. My missus had one of those fitness trackers on that was like linked to the cloud, and it tells you how fit you are and compared with everybody else in the state. And one day, she didn't even walk that far. She said she walked to the gym, went on the treadmill for a bit, and then like walked to the store and then walked home. She did about 8 miles or something on one of her days off. And it texted her and said, like, congratulations, you've walked more than 99.99% of the entire state. It's like, fuck me, you only have to walk 8 miles. You basically beat 20 million people. So maybe that's why. I mean, you can't just say it's Trump's fault and then call the virus the Trump virus, even though he didn't make it. It's ridiculous. So maybe that's it. You can't just point at one thing and say, oh, it's the president's fault, everyone. Every single person who died in America, it's Trump's fault. Well, is every single person who died in France Macron's fault? No. Why? Oh, well, because we like him. Again, the reason current politics is so frustrating to people like us, ladies and gentlemen, normal, centrist, reasonable people that look at the evidence, and this is the important thing, which I really cannot grasp about 50 million Americans. Look at the evidence and change your mind. Because that's what seems like everybody now being lambasted and called a right-wing fascist is just a former liberal that changes the mind when they see evidence. All the people that call right-wing fascists now are fucking liberals. Salty Cracker's a liberal. Russell Brand's a lefty. a full-blown lefty. Glenn Greenwald, lefty. Tulsi Gabbard, lefty. Joe Rogan's a lefty liberal, fucking milquetoast bloke. Every single one of them now, they go, oh, yeah, far-right fascist. No, they're just lefties who actually change their mind when they see evidence. And that's what I am. 10 years ago, I was like, Bernie Sanders, he should be in America. Because I was like an English conservative. And I thought America needs to go to the left quite a lot. Bernie would probably be good for them. And then you just get battered around the head with evidence for 4 or 5 years. So you change your mind and they go, fascist. It's like, you couldn't make it up, could you? Evidence. Ricky Gervais is a lefty as well. He definitely is. Definitely is. I used to listen to his this is how long I've been into Ricky Gervais. I used to listen to his Kiss FM radio show in like the 90s. And then I've had it on in my car for years. Me and my missus are big fans of him. He's always been a lefty, Ricky Gervais. There's nothing fucking right-wing about him. It's all of them. But the difference between a deranged communist ideologue and a normal lefty, like I said, of which I've got a lot of time for, is that normal lefties would just suck it into the ideology of thinking that socialism was a good idea because it would improve the lot of the working classes. That's not a wokeist. That's not. It's not even close. And the normal lefties change their mind when you give them irrefutable evidence. I mean, these wokists out here still think up is down and left is right. They still think that it's all Trump's fault we got the coronavirus, that everybody who's had any reticence at all about any of the explanations for it, not just the effectiveness of the jabs, but where the vaccine, where they came from, who paid for it, whether or not the United States was involved in gain-of-function research. If you question any aspect of it, they go, you're an anti-vaxxer. Even people that have had it. Again, it's lunacy. If someone calls you an anti-vaxxer when you've had the vaccines, by definition, the person doing the calling is a fucking maniac. There's no more requirement for an explanation more complicated than that, is there? It's just wrong. It's just stupid. And that's what I'm talking about. People like Russell Brand. I don't think he is our man because he's an old school socialist. But what I'm saying is he's still not as bad as these wokists because he's someone who's changed his mind when the evidence has presented itself. They said that the whole fucking thing about COVID was a conspiracy theory. And 2 years later, the evidence has changed. And most normal people like Russell Brand or Ricky Gervais or Tulsi Gabbard or Glenn Greenwald or Joe Rogan, or just reel them off, all of which are on the left of the political spectrum. All of those people have gone, I guess I have to change my mind because there's new evidence. The difference between those people and the communists is staggering. The people that work at CNN. Anyway, I've gone on a tangent. I don't like talking about that too much because Susan will pull my fucking piebs out one at a time. So Biden's been honest for a change and told us how much of a walking, shambling fuck-up he is. And whoever transcribed the interview did it accurately. So everything he said was nonsense and word soup. So yeah, brilliant. Made him look dead good. How that walking corpse is the president of the free world, I'll never fucking know. Well, I might know, but the evidence won't come out for that until it's all done and dusted, will it? We'll find out eventually, you know, and you know what I'm talking about there. Shenanigans, but we'll have to leave it there. This annoyed me. Let's talk about this now. What's Fatty doing over there again? What's Fatty doing over there again? The albino jellyfish, right? The UK is currently a shambles. As I keep telling you lot, the United States is in a better place than the United Kingdom. You best believe it. Because at least we have waiting in the wings in the United States a proper conservative option. You lads are in the shit. I've said it loads of times. How bad's Britain got? It's properly fucked. you've got an outright border crisis. Like they're doing nothing about the borders in the UK. So every single year, you're getting 300,000 legal migrants, give or take. I mean, last year we got 1 million. just figure that. Just do the maths. Let's average it out then, and I'll try and incorporate the million, and we'll just bump up the last few years. Let's say in the last 5 years, you've had net migration every year of about 400,000 people, right? So how's that going to affect the NHS or your public schools or the housing crisis? They were all gobbing off saying, oh, yeah, guess what? We managed to build 20,000 council houses last year. Well, yeah, that's quite good considering Tony Blair went years where they didn't build any at all. But how's 26,000 council houses going to cut it when you're importing 400,000 people every single year? It's a ticking time bomb. And if you lot living in the UK think it's anything but a ticking time bomb, you're living in a fantasy land, which is why I've told you all that there's not much you can do about it as an individual. You can't. Things have to get much, much, much worse before they get better. So all you can do is, like I've said, don't drink or do drugs too much. Drink, I mean, not drugs. Don't do that at all. Stay fit, stay healthy, save your money as best you can. Stockpile the essentials. Stuff that lasts for years. Do it, because the UK is totally fucked. The United States has got the ability to handle this type of stuff a lot easier than the United Kingdom does. When it kicks off, you're going to be in the shit in the United Kingdom. So you've got 400,000 people moving in a year, no plan, no idea, no attempt to arrest it or to plan for the future. And you've got rampant communist ideologues running every single aspect of the government, regardless of who you vote for. And worst of all, nobody to replace them, because the Tories are going to lose the next general election. And the people that win it aren't going to be Reform UK or the SDP or any of these new parties, because, ladies and gentlemen, people like you are in the small minority. Look, I've got 230 people watching me here. We're a tiny minority because the powers that be, Silicon Valley, the mainstream media, the deep state, to use the Americanism, they control the narrative. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a landslide victory for Labour or a coalition of commies. SNP, they'll win up north. Lib Dems, Plaid Cymru in Wales. You're fucked. Basically, America, we've got conservatives waiting in the wings. 2024, there's no fucking way they'll win. The Reds will win by such a landslide. The Republicans over here, not the Reds. They'll win by such a landslide that even the electoral shenanigans won't be able to save them, which is the argument I always make to Sadwings about us kind of deserving our fate here, because we needed Trump to win by a landslide and he didn't get that. Even if you believe in all of the electoral shenanigans, he still didn't win by an absolute landslide, which is what he needed. Because like I said, you only need to make alterations of about 40,000 votes in 5 or 6 states, and that's you done in America. It's easy. It's fucking easy. You don't need large scale shenanigans. You just need small scale in a few of the right places. So in the United States, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll have a rough few years, and then we'll get some proper conservatives in. But in the United Kingdom, you are massively in the shit. Yeah, it doesn't matter, Nick. Yeah, but what I'm saying is it matters because we need a new party. And because the powers that be run the UK, you're not going to get one in enough numbers. People like Patriotic Alternative and the SDP and Reform UK and UKIP and all of these things, nobody's going to be able to galvanise them as a single cohesive force. So they're not going to be able to win the next general election. So the next general election, you're going to get more of the same. So buckle up. It's going to get much, much worse before it gets better. There's going to be about 15, 20% of the electorate who will turn their back on the mainstream parties and attempt to force through an alternative. But that's not enough to win an election. So long term, well, medium term, the UK is fucked. It's going to get much, much worse. You think it's bad under the Conservatives, who are at least nominally pretending sometimes to be conservative? Wait till Labour and the SNP and Plaid Cymru are running the show. Fuck me. Diane Abbott as Home Secretary. Imagine that. Imagine that. So you think it's bad now? It's going to get worse. You're going to get an extra couple of 100,000 illegal migrants in every year. The economy is going to collapse. The housing market's going to be shambolic. They're going to keep going up. If you don't own a house, you are totally fucked. Because they're building 20,000 a year and they're importing 500,000 bastard people every year. I do the maths. It's not complicated, is it? Yes, that's what I'm saying. The next 2024 is going to be a landslide for far left extremists. So buckle up is all I've got to say, ladies and gents. I've told you this many times. You're in the shit. So yeah, the albino jellyfish is doing what all of our politicians do nowadays, and he's just pretending it's not happening. It's too complicated to deal with at home, so just bugger off abroad and shake some hands. What is he doing over there? The UK is a shambles. The country's falling to bits, and he's just constantly buggering off to Ukraine. It's like you couldn't make it up. Hopefully, things will get much, much worse on the Russia front. And when everyone's just murdering each other willy-nilly, maybe then the people in Europe will go, we're not being well led. Because it's totally shagged the European Union as well. Is it? The UK and the EU, totally fucked. Just their own people are suffering. Their own people are skinned. They're getting bayoneted in the street by fucking foreign-born miscreants that break in. And all they're doing, him and Macron and Schultz and everybody else, it's just bimbling around Ukraine, shaking hands with Zelensky because they think it makes them look good, standing next to that silly bastard in his fucking olive shirt. It's a farce. It's typical of our prevaricating politicians, just fucking kicking the can down the road and desperately trying to seem relevant rather than doing some real work, coming home and rolling up the sleeves and actually fixing some problems. Just go and do photo shoots with Zelensky. Yeah, that's always made me laugh about Zelensky. Have you noticed how he never ever wears a suit now? He's just always wearing olive shirt like he's in the fucking A-team. He's the president. He doesn't do anything. Soldiers do fighting. When we invaded the Falklands, well, we didn't invade the Falklands. When the Argies invaded the Falklands and we sent our troops to liberate the Falklands, Margaret Thatcher didn't start wearing a fucking headband and carrying an AK, did she? It's laughable. It's just all ridiculous. Photo opportunities for our slimy politicians. And he is an actor. But how funny is that, him bimbling round in his like B.A. Baracus? He should just start wearing like a denim shirt, a vest, and loads of gold chains. I pity the fool that invades Ukraine. It's laughable. Macron and Boris, all the EU, Ursula von der Scheisse-Porn, they're not doing any work. Just standing next to him, getting the pictures took because it looks good. Well, we're fucked. Like I said, we've been sorely led. For 30 years, all we've done is potter around. All of our leaders potter around doing nothing useful because they're not interested. They're not interested in saving Europe, defending Western culture. They're just bimbling around, photo opportunities, champagne, and 3 nice meals a day, 7-course dinners in fucking Brussels. Well, we're in the shit. And we deserve it. Ultimately, like I said, the system works. We deserve it. We've allowed them to do it, so we deserve it. So things will get much, 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 much worse in Europe before they get any better. Buckle up. There's nothing else you can do about it. Until the normies get pissed off, nothing's going to change. So until we've got power cuts, food shortages, rampant crime, civil disobedience in the streets, nothing's going to change. So just be sensible and let the normies spill into the streets in their angry mobs because they're hungry and freezing, and you just be sensible and look after yourself and fucking knuckle down, because it's gonna boot off. Simple. Aye, Ikey, here's another one, right? One about changing your mind. I used to laugh at him 10 years ago. My mates used to tell me about him, and I used to laugh and go, he's a fucking moron. Just repeating what the media says. Oh, he's a moron, him. And then now you're listening and you go, shit. It's like Alex Jones. Yeah, they say some out there stuff, but half the time they're right. So they should be basically treated like everybody else. And you listen to what they say and you digest it and you decide whether or not that's true. Because turns out I was being the silly bastard by just instantly discounting whoever the mainstream media told me I should discount. You know, do your own research, do your own reading, and come to your own logical conclusions, right? Don't let anyone, including me, tell you what you should be thinking. All right? Right, we'll call it there, ladies and gents. Happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend as best you can. And I will see you all on Monday. All right? Have a good weekend. Don't get too pissed. Don't forget to buy a few extra cans of beans and put them under your fucking mattress because you're going to need them. Right, cheers, lads and lasses. See you all very soon. Take it easy.